Back to playing with the ADVGN. According to Suzuki, the GN125 weighs 110 kgs wet, so that's full of oil, full fuel tank. I weighed this one with the custom rack on the back there, the headlight guard, the LED light on the front, the USB chargers on both sides, and the screen that's not on there right now, and that came out as just 112 or 111.5 kgs according to my scales. So taking the factory rack off, it's roughly the same weight as those bits all being put on. I want to get it down to 100 kgs wet, so take off about 10 kgs. The main ways to do that: the lead acid battery, I took that out and put a lithium battery in there, and that saved about 3 kgs as it is, because those lead acid batteries are quite big. Rear wheel, change that to an 18-inch, but it's narrower and the tyre is narrower, so that's saved some weight. I haven't weighed that one, but that's probably the amount it revs up a lot faster now, so quite a bit of weight on the back there, the unsprung weight. Obviously the other things you can do, you can take all the little bits off, take the reflectors off, but I'm going to leave those. The exhaust would be a good one to take some weight out of. There's not too many little bits and pieces you can just cut off a GN. It's all, there's no there's no extras on there really, but you can find a few little bits and pieces to take some weight off. In the future I'll take that rear light off, put a smaller one on, so I'll lose that bracket, that light. I'll get a smaller tail light, remount the number plate somewhere. Can put smaller indicators on. I'm going to hold off doing that until I break one when I drop it on the muddy trail or in the dirt or something. In my case, I've gutted the rev counter and changed it to an electric rev counter rather than mechanical, so I've lost the mechanical drive, the cable, and all the quite heavy the guts of the rev counter there. Even lighter would be just to use a small digital one and then redo these lights. So I might do that in the future, but I like having it look reasonably stock for now. These handlebars are aluminium compared to the steel ones, so they're lighter again. Again, I'll leave the mirrors and stuff until they get broken, and then swap them out for something smaller maybe. You could lose the rear pegs. I use those, put my wife on the back and ride around on it, even though it's a bit underpowered. It will still get about 100 with a second person on the back. I mean, the fenders are obviously chrome steel, they're pretty heavy. I haven't found any that look decent in plastic. You could cut them down. I like to keep the spray out of the front when I'm riding in the wet. In fact, I'd even go as far as adding another little mud flap to the front. The rear fender, only that rear section there is steel, the front is plastic, so it's kind of a bit of a weight saving there. When I change the light, I'll adjust that rear fender a bit and change the angle, so you lose a little bit of weight there when you trim it down. Maybe drill out the underside of the seat. Toolbox, keeping that for now until I put the high mount exhaust on, and then you have to take it out because it's in the way. And then you can, if you make the seat a quick release seat, you can put the tools under there. Obviously if you're making a cafe racer or something, you can cut all that stuff off, it doesn't matter. Today I'm just going to be messing around with a couple of these little cable guide brackets. There's steel on there, just bent up into shape. I've got a bunch of this titanium rod left over from another project. Heaps of little offcuts about this big, so they're perfect for doing those. It's probably better just to totally remove them and cover them in duct tape or electrical tape. That'd be a lot lighter, but this is a bit of a goofy little project. Starting with this horn bracket and cable mounts. You might think you'd just cut that bracket down, but they're actually supposed to be a certain length, and it helps with the resonance of the horn, so I'm led to believe. So you kind of want to leave that. I've tried cutting them shorter on other horns, but they were the Nautilus style ones. It didn't seem to affect the sound on those, but something like this, I don't know, the horn is not great as it is. But just a 12mm head on that bolt, unscrew it, take your cables out, away you go. That's our upper cable mount, just a bent up piece of steel. So it's already starting to rust. This is a 2019 bike, it's a little over a year old, but it has been exposed to some salt water on the ferry, and you know, riding off the ferry on the beach, and spend quite a bit of time riding in the rain. So I mean, the paint's not too good on the GN frame if you look around, and you know, I had that repaired at the dealer because the frame cracked on that weld, and they've just sort of boogered it up. These are all the factory welds. You see the spatter everywhere, paint is coming off. They haven't cleaned the flux off the welds, so if you want to have a GN frame last, it sort of pays to keep it either well oiled or give it a respray. If this one gets bad, I'll strip it down and paint it with something decent probably, but I don't know, the bike probably won't last that long. So our other bit there is the mounting bolt. That's a steel bolt, that's pretty heavy. I think I'm going to drill it out through the middle. That should get rid of a lot of weight. It only holds the horn, so it's not the end of the world. Could replace it with aluminium. Drilling it out's free. I made up this fender when I made that rear rack. Pretty easy, it's just a couple of bolts, some flat steel. You put it in through there, and then you can bend around. It'll bend around that way. For something like this, that's a little bit sort of overkill for that sort of thing. Bit big. You can make a smaller version. Bending something quite small like this is only, I think, 3mm. I'll just use a vise and wrap it around a piece of bolt or a socket or something and do it by hand. It comes out alright. So our stock steel bracket comes in at 12 grams, and our titanium one comes in at 6, so half the weight. Pretty good. Steel bolt, 13 grams. So that's the bolt drilled out, countersunk the head, and just skim the very top of the head off to where the little curve goes on the top. So it should be quite a bit lighter now, 10 grams, so that's 3 grams off, pretty good. Together that is 17 grams, which will be compared to, I think, with the 26 grams total of the original. So our clutch cable bracket, 5 grams. New titanium one, 3 grams. Screw and washer, 4 grams. And the half drilled out bolt is 4 grams. So that's the new cable mount there. Bolt there, holds on to the side. One of the benefits of the titanium is that it won't rust. The bolt probably will now because I've stripped all the coating off it, but put a little bit of paint on it. I guess on a bike like this it's not really worth replacing the bolts with titanium, but something like this, free, is it worth the time for a few grams? Well, if you got the time, I guess, something to play with. It's never going to be a particularly fast or powerful bike, especially keeping that 125 engine, or the base of the engine anyway. If you go through every bolt, take a gram off here and there, adds up. Taking weight off a underpowered bike is really noticeable. I changed the battery. It you could really feel the 3 kgs taken off, so it felt quite different. Good time waster.